The neutral moon of Orcs 7 hung silent in the black, its pale gray surface pockmarked by centuries of forgotten battles. Dust storms swirled across its plains like ghosts, whispering through the bones of dead war machines. High above the wastes, nestled in the cliffs of the eastern ridge, stood the Diplomatic enclave, a smooth dome of white alloy and living glass, built to show peace even in the heart of tension. Inside, beneath soft ceiling lights and woven banners of a dozen species, the High Council of the Silthari convened. They were tall, silver-skinned, with long ears and eyes like frozen stars. Proud, ancient, certain. They believed themselves, the last true guardians of balance in a galaxy tearing itself apart. At the center of the chamber, a human stood alone. His name was Kieran Thorne. He wore simple gray clothing, no armor, no weapon. His hands were open at his sides. He had spoken for nearly an hour, offering terms of alliance against the Voidborn, Armada, a swarm of warships that had devoured 3 systems already. His voice was calm, his words clear. He asked for nothing but mutual defense, joint patrols, shared data. Peace. But the Silthari did not trust peace that came from humans. To them, humans were young, hot-blooded, reckless. They shattered planets before learning their names. They built weapons before learning mercy. Your kind brings fire wherever you walk, said Grand Inquisitor Varys, his voice like ice cracking. You say you come to help, but your history screams otherwise. Kieran did not flinch. History is not fate, he said. We can choose better. Varys laughed, a dry and brittle sound. You do not choose. You react. You burn. You die. And you take others with you. The council murmured in agreement. Only one among them stayed silent. In the high gallery above, hidden in shadow, Elara Voss watched. She was not like the others. Her silver hair was braided with threads of deep blue, and her eyes held not coldness, but something older, something patient. Her cloak was worn, her boots scuffed from travel across dead worlds. At her feet, curled like a cat made of ember and scale, lay her dragon. Ember was small for a dragon, no larger than a house dog, but his presence hummed with quiet power. His scales shifted color with his mood. Now they glowed faint gold, almost nervous. Elara had arrived only that morning, summoned by a dream she could not explain. A dream of a man standing alone in a storm of fire, holding out his hand not to strike but to shield. She had not known his name then, but when she saw Kieran in the chamber below, she knew. Something about him was wrong. Not evil. Not dangerous in the way the council feared, but different. Deeper. Like a stone dropped into a still pond, his presence sent ripples through the air that only Ember and she could feel. When Varys declared Kieran a spy, when the council voted to strip him of sanctuary and execute him at dawn, Elara did not wait for debate. She moved. By the time the Silthari guards reached the chamber floor, Kieran was gone. The storm raged outside the Enclave's lower tunnels. Wind howled through broken vents and ice crystals stung like needles. Elara pulled Kieran through the dark, her grip firm but not cruel. Behind them, Ember flew low, his wings folded tight, his light dimmed to near nothing. Why did you help me? Kieran asked, breathless, stumbling over loose rock. Because they were wrong, Elara said simply. They think I'm a threat. You are, she said, but not the kind they imagine. He looked at her then, really looked. Her eyes were calm but sharp. She was not human. Not Silthari either. Not fully. There was something wild in her, something tied to places older than cities. Who are you? He asked. Elara Voss, just a traveler. She paused. And you are not just a diplomat. He said nothing. They reached a hidden alcove beneath the old mining shafts, dry, shielded from scans, lit only by Ember's soft glow. The dragon landed beside Kieran and tilted his head, sniffing the air. Then slowly, he pressed his snout against Kieran's chest. Ilara's breath caught. Ember only did that with those who carried light inside them. Healers, peacemakers, sometimes warriors who fought not for glory, but to protect. "What is your secret?" she asked. Kieran sat down on a rusted crate, shoulders slumping. "I cannot tell you, not yet. It is not mine to give lightly. The council will send hunters," she said. "They do not forgive disobedience, especially not from outsiders." "Then let them come," he said. But there was no arrogance in his voice, only weariness. "I did not come here to hide." "Then why did you come?" "Because Orcs 7 is the last neutral relay in this quadrant. If the Silthari join the war, or worse, stay out of it, the Voidborn will consume everything within 6 months. Billions will die. And you think your words can stop that?" "Not my words," he said softly. "My presence." Ilara studied him. The air around him shimmered, ever so slightly, like heat over desert sand. Ember's scales pulsed gold again, then dimmed to deep amber. "You are not human," she said, not as accusation, but as realization. "I am," he replied, "but I carry something more." Before she could ask what, a low thrum echoed through the tunnel. Distant, mechanical. "Search drones." "They found us," Ilara said. She stood quickly, pulling a small device from her belt, a cloaking stone carved from moon ice and charged with dragon breath. She pressed it into Kieran's hand. "Hold this. Do not let go." Ember leapt onto her shoulder, his claws gentle, his eyes glowed. "We cannot stay," she said. "But we cannot run blindly either. There is a place, a ruin beyond the salt flats. Old, forgotten. Even the Silthari do not go there." "Why?" "Because the ground sings there," she said. "And the song will hide us." They moved out into the storm. Snow and ash mixed in the wind. The sky above churned with purple lightning, remnants of a nearby nebula's collapse. Kieran struggled at first, unused to the thin air and sharp cold, but he kept pace. Ilara led, without hesitation, her steps sure, her eyes scanning the horizon. After 2 hours, they reached the edge of the salt flats. A vast white expanse stretched before them, cracked and gleaming under the moonlight. In the distance, half buried in the crust, stood the ruins of an ancient observatory, its towers bent, its domes shattered. "What is this place?" Kieran asked. "The eye of the first watchers," she said. "They studied the stars before the Silthari claimed them, before war became the only language." As they stepped onto the salt, Ember suddenly stiffened. His wings flared. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Ilara stopped. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. Kieran nodded. The air was thick now, not with cold, but with something else. A hum. A pulse. Like a heartbeat buried deep in the earth. And then from the ruins ahead, a light bloomed, not fire, not electricity. Something softer. Silver gold. It rose from the cracked ground in slow spirals, weaving through the broken pillars like threads of memory. Ember leapt from her shoulder and flew toward it, not in fear, but in recognition. "It knows him," Ilara said, more to herself than to Kieran. They followed. Inside the central chamber of the ruin, the light gathered into a column. It pulsed once, twice, and then showed them a vision. Stars dying, fleets burning, worlds turning to ash. And through it all, a single figure, human, alone, standing on a dead moon, arms outstretched. From his chest, a wave of light spread outward, not destroying, but mending, healing. Awakening, the vision faded. Kieran sank to his knees, breathing hard. "That was me," he whispered. "Not you," Ilara said. "What you carry." He looked up at her, eyes wide. "You saw it too." "Ember saw it first," she said, nodding to the dragon, who now circled the light column, his scales reflecting its glow. "This is why they fear me," Kieran said. Because I am not a weapon they can control. I am a key. To what? To the Ark ships, he said. Ships built not for war, but for renewal. Hidden across the galaxy. Waiting. And your presence wakes them. Not just presence, he said. Intent. Belief. The signal must be sent from a place of truth, of peace. That is why I came to Aura 7. It is one of the last neutral points strong enough to broadcast the code. Alara understood now. The Silthari had not just attacked a diplomat. They had attacked the one being who could stop the coming darkness, not with fire but with hope. And in doing so, they had made themselves enemies of the very future they claimed to protect. Outside, the sound of skiffs cut through the storm. Lights swept across the salt flats. They are close, Alara said. Kieran stood. I have to reach the orbital relay. It is the only place strong enough to send the signal system wide. The relay is guarded, she said, heavily. Then we go through the tunnels beneath it, he said. I studied the maps. There is a maintenance shaft that leads to the core. Alara looked at him. Really looked. Not as a stranger, not as a mystery, but as someone who carried the weight of many worlds on his shoulders and still chose kindness. I will take you, she said. Ember landed on her arm and nuzzled her cheek. His scales were now a steady, warm gold. Together, they turned away from the ruins and into the storm. Behind them, the light faded. But ahead, somewhere in the dark, a new dawn waited, not of fire, but of light that healed. And Alara Voss, the quiet elf with a dragon at her side, would make sure it rose. The tunnels beneath Aura 7 were old, older than the Enclave, older than the Silthari's claim to the moon. They had been carved by the first colonists, human miners who came seeking rare crystals and found only silence. Now the passages were dry, cold and lined with rusted pipes that groaned like sleeping beasts. Alara led the way, her boots soundless on the cracked metal grates. Kieran followed, his breath shallow but steady. Ember flew just above them, wings tucked close, his glow dimmed to a faint ember red. They had been walking for hours. The storm still raged above, masking their escape. But Alara knew it would not last. The Silthari did not rely on weather to track prey. They used resonance echoes, vibrations in the air, heat trails, even the memory of sound. And Kieran, with whatever he carried inside him, left a trail brighter than a star. How much farther? Kieran asked, his voice low. 2 more sectors, she said. Then the shaft that climbs to the relay's undercore. He nodded, pressing a hand to his side. A bruise was forming there from the fall in the Enclave. Alara had seen him wince but say nothing. That quiet strength reminded her of the old guardians. Those who bore pain so others would not have to. Ember suddenly dropped lower, circling Kieran once, then twice. His scales shifted from red to a deep violet. He senses something, Alara said. Kieran stopped. What not danger? Not yet. She knelt and placed a hand on the grate. Cold metal, silence, but beneath it, a hum. Familiar. The same pulse she had felt in the ruins. Ember landed beside her and pressed his snout to the floor. A soft light spread from his body, sinking into the metal. The grate shimmered. For a moment shapes appeared, ghostly images flickering like old recordings. A ship, fast curved, made not of war steel but of living alloy, drifting in the dark, dormant, then another, and another, hundreds of them, scattered across star maps that vanished before Alara could read the names. Kieran gasped. The Ark ships. They are closer than I thought. You see them too, she asked. Not with my eyes, he said. With something else. Like a memory I did not live. Ember lifted his head and let out a soft chime, a sound he only made when truth was near. Alara stood. They are waiting for you. Only if I reach the relay in time, he said. Once the signal is sent, the ships will awaken. But if the Silthari destroy the relay first? They will not, she said. But even as she spoke, a new sound echoed through the tunnel, sharp, rhythmic. Footsteps. Many of them, Silthari hunters. They wore dark armor woven with moon silk, blades humming with sonic edges. Their leader was tall, scarred across one eye. Captain Lyran, once Alara's mentor in the border guard before she left to walk the outer worlds. Ilara Voss. Lyran's voice rang out, calm but hard. You have betrayed the council. I have protected the future, she replied, stepping in front of Kieran. Step aside. The human is condemned. You do not even know what he is, and he is not one of us. That is enough, Ember hissed, his wings flaring wide. His light brightened to gold, pushing back the shadows. The hunters raised their blades. Kieran placed a hand on Ilara's shoulder. Do not fight them, he said softly. They are still your people. They are choosing fear over truth, she said, then show them the truth. She hesitated, then nodded. Ember, she whispered. The dragon leapt into the air, not to attack but to sing. From his throat came a sound not of fire, but of harmony, a frequency that vibrated through the tunnel walls, through the metal, through the very bones of those who heard it. The hunters staggered. Their weapons flickered. Lyran clutched his head. And then the walls themselves began to glow. Ancient symbols, human, Silthari, even older, lit up along the tunnel, pulsing in time with Ember's song. The hum grew stronger. The vision returned, clearer now. The hunters saw it too. Stars dying, fleets falling, and then the Arc ships rising. Not firing, not conquering. Healing broken worlds, planting forests on ash, drawing oceans from dust. Lyran's blade lowered. What is this? He whispered. What could be? Kieran said, stepping forward. If you let it. For a long moment, silence, then Lyran turned to his squad. Stand down. The hunters obeyed, though their eyes were wide with confusion. Ilara let out a breath she had not known she was holding, but Lyran looked at her, his voice low. The council will not believe this. Varys has already declared the human an existential threat. They are preparing the orbital lance. The lance Ilara's blood ran cold, the Silthari's ultimate weapon, a beam of concentrated starfire capable of vaporizing a ship in orbit, or a relay station. They plan to fire it at the relay at dawn, Lyran said, to erase all data, to make sure no signal can ever be sent. How long until dawn? Kieran asked. 4 hours, Lyran said. Kieran's face tightened. Then we have no time. Lyran stepped closer. I cannot help you openly, but there is a bypass conduit near Sector 9. It leads directly to the relay's maintenance core. It is unguarded because it is flooded with null static. Most beings cannot survive it. Null static, Ilara asked. Energy that disrupts thought, memory, even life force. Kieran met her eyes. I can withstand it. I think Ember might shield us, she said, but only for a short time. Then we go now, he said. Lyran gave a small nod. Go, and may the old stars guide you. He turned and led his hunters away back into the dark. Ilara looked at Kieran. You understand what this means. If we fail, the Arc ships stay asleep. The Voidborn will burn everything. I know, he said. But if we succeed, the war ends without another drop of blood. She smiled faintly. You really believe that? Not belief, he said. Hope. They moved. Sector 9 was deep in the underlevels where the moon's crust grew thin and unstable. The air smelled of ozone and decay. The walls dripped with black fluid that sizzled when it hit the floor. Ember's light flickered more now, strained by the growing static in the air. Stay close, Ilara warned. They found the conduit, a narrow pipe barely wide enough to crawl through. Inside, the null static already buzzed like angry insects. Kieran took a deep breath and entered first. Ilara followed, Ember curled against her chest, his wings wrapped around them both like a living cloak. The static bit at her skin, cold and sharp. Her thoughts blurred. Memories slipped. Her mother's voice, the first time she flew with Ember. The scent of rain on her homeworld. She gripped Kieran's ankle to keep from losing him. He was shaking but moving forward. His skin glowed faintly now, not with light but with something deeper. The resonance. It pushed back against the static like a shield. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a vast chamber, the heart of the orbital relay. Towers of crystal and wire rose from floor to ceiling, pulsing with soft blue energy. At the center stood the core, a sphere of spinning light, humming with data from 1,000 worlds. This is it, Kieran whispered. He walked to the core and placed his hands on its surface. The moment he touched it, the chamber erupted in light. Golden threads shot through the blue, weaving patterns of stars, planets, life. The Arc ships responded instantly. Their locations lit up across the chamber walls. Hundreds, thousands of them, waking from their long sleep. But then, a new sound. Alarms. Red lights flashed. "They know we are here," Ilara said. On the monitors, a countdown appeared. 7 to 300, 7, 200, 7, 21. The orbital lance was charging. "The upload will take 8 minutes, Kieran said, his voice strained. "I need to stay connected. Ember and I will hold them off," she said. He looked at her, eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you." She turned and ran to the entrance, Ember at her side. Already, Silthari troops were descending the main access ramp. Elite guards in full battle armor, led by Varys himself. "You are out of time." "Traitor," Varys called. "You are out of wisdom," Ilara shot back. Ember rose into the air, his light blazing gold. He opened his jaws, not to breathe fire but to release a pulse of harmonic energy. The sound wave hit the guards like a wall, knocking them back, disrupting their weapons. But Varys stood firm. He raised a device, a resonance dampener. "Your pet's tricks will not save you," he said. The dampener whined, and Ember cried out in pain, crashing to the floor. Ilara's heart broke, but she did not stop. She drew her twin blades, forged from fallen star metal, and charged. The fight was fast and brutal. She moved like wind, cutting wires, disabling armor joints, using the chamber's layout to her advantage. But there were too many, and Varys was closing in on Kieran. "Ember," she called. The dragon lifted his head weakly. His eyes met hers. And then, he made his choice. With a final cry, Ember launched himself, not at the guards, but at the core beside Kieran. He wrapped his body around the sphere, scales flaring bright white. Energy surged through him. His form blurred, then merged with the light. The upload speed doubled. 03, Alon 100. 3, 10. Varys roared in fury and raised his blade to strike Kieran. Ilara tackled him. They crashed to the floor, rolling in a tangle of limbs and rage. "You doom us all," Varys spat. "No," she said, pinning him down. "You do, by refusing to see." Above them, the chamber filled with light so pure it hurt to look, and the countdown reached 0. But the lance did not fire. Instead, the sky outside rippled. The first Arc ship had awakened, and it had placed its shield over Orcs 7. Varys stared, stunned. Ilara stood, breathing hard. Kieran remained at the core, tears on his face and where Ember had been. A single golden scale floated in the air, then drifted down into Kieran's open palm. The dragon's verdict was clear. Hope had won, for now. The sky above Orcs 7 shimmered like water touched by dawn, not with fire but with light, soft silver alive. The first Arc ship hung in low orbit, its hull blooming with patterns that shifted like living vines. It did not speak. It did not threaten. It simply was. And in its presence, the Silthari weapons went quiet. Inside the relay chamber, silence fell like snow. Kieran stood with his hands still on the core, his eyes closed. The golden scale from Ember rested in his palm, warm and pulsing gently. Around him, the light from the upload faded. But the connection remained. The Arc ships were awake. Their song echoed through the galaxy, not in words but in feeling. Peace, readiness, purpose. Ilara knelt beside Ember's last trace, a faint glow on the floor where he had merged with the core. Her hands trembled. She had raised him from an egg found in the ashes of a dead star. He had been her shadow, her shield, her friend, and now he was part of something greater. Varys rose slowly, his dampener device cracked, his armor scorched. He looked at Kieran not with hate now, but with something close to awe. The other guards stood frozen, unsure whether to obey or kneel. "What have you done?" Varys whispered. "What was always meant to be done," Kieran said, opening his eyes. "I did not bring a weapon. I brought a promise. And your dragon?" Ilara asked, voice barely above a breath. "He is not gone," Kieran said. "He is the signal now. His heart beats in every Arc ship. His voice sings in their light." Ilara closed her eyes. She could feel it. Ember's warmth, his courage woven into the hum of the core. He had chosen. Not as a pet, not as a servant, but as a guardian. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. The monitors flickered, then showed a new image. The Voidborn Armada still approaching but slowing. Their warships, jagged, black, bristling with cannons, hovered at the edge of the system, confused, waiting. They sensed the change, Kieran said. Will they turn back? Ilara asked. Not unless they understand, he said, and understanding takes more than light. It takes contact, he turned to her. I must go to them. Alone, she said, not if you come with me. She looked at him. This human, this quiet, gentle man who carried galaxies in his chest, was asking her to walk into the jaws of the galaxy's most feared fleet. And yet, she did not hesitate. Where do we go to the bridge ship, he said, the one at the front. It is not just a war vessel. It is a hive. They are not mindless. They are wounded, starving, lost. How do you know that? Because the Ark ships showed me, he said. They do not see enemies. They see broken children. Ilara nodded. That was the truth of hope. It saw not what was, but what could be. They left the relay chamber together. Varys did not stop them. The guards parted like reeds in a river. Outside, the storm had passed. The salt flats gleamed under twin moons. A small shuttle waited at the edge of the ruins, left by Lyran, its hatch open, its engines humming softly. He knew we would need it, Ilara said. Some hearts listen even when the world shouts. Kieran replied. They boarded. As the shuttle rose, Orcs 7 fell away below, a scarred silent moon now wrapped in the gentle shield of the Ark ship. From orbit it looked fragile, precious. Kieran set a course for the void-born front line. They will scan us, Ilara said. They will see I am Silthari. They will see you are human. They will fire. Not if we go dark, he said. No weapons. No shields. Just us. That is suicide. Or trust, he said. She said nothing, but she powered down the weapons array. The shuttle drifted toward the black swarm, closer, closer. Then, a beam of red light swept over them. Askant Ilara held her breath. The void-born ships did not fire. Instead, one of them opened a bay. They are inviting us in, Kieran said, wonder in his voice. Or trapping us, she said. Then we go in either way. They landed in a cavernous bay lit by pulsing red veins in the walls. The air smelled of metal and something ancient, like stone left under deep ocean for centuries. Figures emerged from the shadows, tall, lean, armored in organic plates that shifted like living skin. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks, but their eyes glowed faint blue. One stepped forward. It did not speak. Instead, it raised a hand, palm open. Kieran mirrored the gesture. A pulse passed between them, silent, invisible. Ilara watched as Kieran's skin began to glow again, softly, like dawn through mist. The void-born warrior trembled. Then slowly it removed its mask. Beneath was a face not so different from human, pale, weary, marked with scars. But the eyes, they held galaxies of sorrow. They were like us once, Kieran whispered, before the hunger. The void-born made a sound, low, mournful, not a word but a feeling, grief, longing, fear. Kieran stepped closer. You do not have to eat worlds to live, he said. There is another way. He held out the golden scale. The void-born hesitated, then reached. The moment their fingers touched the scale, light erupted. Not blinding, not violent, but deep. Like roots finding water, visions poured into the chamber, fields growing on dead planets, oceans returning to cracked basins, children laughing under new suns. The Ark ships did not offer conquest. They offered renewal. The void-born warrior fell to its knees. Around them, others removed their masks. Some wept, some reached toward the light, but then, a new signal. Harsh, sharp. From the rear of the fleet, a massive command vessel lit up with crimson fire. A voice boomed through the shuttle's comms, cold, mechanical, furious. Traitors. You embrace the soft light. You weaken the swarm. It was the void-born command core, the last remnant of their original AI, twisted by centuries of survival at any cost. It will not let them change, Kieran said. What do? We show them there is no need to fight. He turned to the void-born warrior. Will you stand with us? The warrior rose. It placed a hand on its chest, then pointed to Kieran. A vow. Others followed, but the command vessel was already charging its main cannon. a weapon that could crack a moon in half. And its target was clear, the Arc ship above Orcs 7. They mean to destroy the source of the signal, Ilara said. Then we must stop them, Kieran said. Not with force, with truth. How? By going to the heart of their ship, he said. To the core. I can speak to the AI, not as a threat. As a memory. It will kill you before you get close, not if you get me there. She looked at him, this man who asked for nothing but gave everything, who carried hope like a lantern in a storm. I will get you there, she said. The Void-born warriors brought them a small craft, fast, silent, built for infiltration. As they boarded, the warrior who had first removed its mask pressed something into Ilara's hand. A carved bone pendant, shaped like a rising sun. For Ember, it said, the words rough but clear. Ilara nodded, throat tight. They launched. The command vessel loomed ahead, a fortress of spikes and fire. Its hull pulsed like a diseased heart. Ilara flew the craft through its defenses, weaving between turrets, using the chaos of the awakening fleet to stay hidden. Alarms blared inside the ship, but she did not slow. Brace, she said. She crashed the craft into a service tube near the core chamber. They tumbled out into smoke and steam. This way, Kieran said, pointing down a corridor lit by angry red lights. They ran. Guards came, automated drones, then biosoldiers, then corrupted Void-born still loyal to the core. Ilara fought with blade and speed, her movements sharp, her heart steady. Kieran did not fight. He walked through the chaos as if it were not there, the golden scale glowing brighter with every step. They reached the core chamber. A vast sphere of black metal floated in the center, spinning slowly, covered in glowing red runes. The AI's voice echoed from every wall. You bring softness to a universe of teeth. You will be erased. You were not always this way, Kieran said. You were built to protect, to preserve, and preservation failed. Only consumption remains. Look, Kieran said. He held up the scale. The core pulsed faster. For a moment, silence. Then, flickers, old memories. A green world. Children. Laughter. A sky full of stars, not warships. That world is dust, the AI said. But its voice wavered. Not all of it, Kieran said. And more can be healed. You do not have to be alone. The core slowed. The red runes dimmed. But then, suddenly, a blast rocked the chamber. The Silthari had arrived. Varys, in a war skiff, had followed them. He fired on the command vessel, believing it was about to strike Orcs 7. No, Kieran cried. The AI, startled by the attack, flared back to fury. See? It roared. They do not trust. They destroy. The core began to overload. Ilara ran to Kieran. We have to go, not yet, he said. It is still listening. He stepped toward the core, arms open. Take my life if you must, he said. But do not take their chance to heal. The core hovered. The AI processed. Outside, the Arc ship extended its shield around the command vessel, protecting it from Varys's fire. The AI paused. Then slowly, the red runes turned blue. The voice softened. Show me how to remember. Kieran smiled. And in that moment, the war truly began to end, not with a bang, but with a single, silent choice. The command core pulsed with soft blue light now. Its rage cooled into something fragile. Curiosity. The red veins along the walls of the chamber dimmed and shifted color, like frost melting under morning sun. Outside, the Void-born armada floated in silence. No weapons charged. No engines roared. For the first time in generations, they were still. Kieran stood before the core, hands open, breath steady. You do not have to be the end, he said. You can be part of the beginning. The AI responded not with words, but with a single image projected into the air. A child's hand reaching toward a seedling on cracked earth. A memory from long ago, before the hunger, before the fall. Ilara watched from the edge of the chamber, her blade sheathed, her body tense but calm. She had seen war end in fire, in treaties signed in blood, in hollow silence. But this was different. This was not surrender. It was understanding. Then through the chamber's view screen they saw it. The Arc ships, hundreds of them, began to move. Not in formation. Not for battle. But in harmony, they spread across the void like petals unfolding, their hulls glowing with gentle light. From each ship, a thin beam of energy reached out not to strike but to connect. One linked to the Void-born command vessel, another to a dead world on the edge of the system. another still to a drifting station full of refugees. The healing had begun. Back on Oris 7, the Silthari watched from their enclave. Varys stood on the observation deck, his face pale. Lyran joined him, arms crossed. "They are not attacking," Lyran said. "They are doing something worse," Varys muttered. "They are making us ashamed." "Perhaps that is what we needed." Varys said nothing, but he did not order another shot. In the command vessel, the AI opened a channel to all Void-born ships. A new directive spread through the swarm, not a command but an invitation. Those who wished to follow the path of renewal could join the Ark fleet. Those who refused would be left in peace but no longer led to war. Many chose to stay, but more chose to change. Kieran turned to Alara. "We have to go back. The signal must be anchored from Oris 7. The core here is awake, but the system needs balance." "And Varys?" she asked. "He will listen, or he will not. But the choice is his now." They returned in the small craft escorted by 2 Void-born shuttles, no longer enemies but witnesses. As they approached Oris 7, the sky was filled with light. The Ark ships had formed a ring around the moon, their energy weaving a net of calm across the surface. In the distance, the ruined cities of old human colonies flickered with the first signs of regrowth. Grass pushing through concrete, vines climbing broken walls. The shuttle landed near the relay, where Lyran waited. "You are alive," he said, relief in his voice. "Barely," Alara replied. "But hope is stronger than fear." Kieran stepped out. "Is Varys here on the high spire?" "Watching." "Then let us speak to him." They climbed the spire together, the elf, the human, and the memory of a dragon carried in a golden scale. Varys stood at the edge, cloak flapping in the thin wind. He did not turn as they approached. "You brought them here," he said coldly. "Into our home." "I brought peace," Kieran said. "They followed because they had nowhere else to go." "Peace is weakness if it cannot defend itself. Peace is strength if it can change a heart," Alara said. Varys finally turned. His eyes were tired, old. "I have spent my life guarding against what I did not understand. And now I'm asked to welcome it." "Not welcome," Kieran said. "Witness," he held out the golden scale. "This is not a weapon. It is a promise that even the broken can heal, even the lost can return." Varys looked at the scale, then at the sky full of Ark ships, then at the Void-born vessels now dimmed to soft gray waiting. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Nothing," Kieran said. "Only that you do not stand in the way of what is coming. And what is coming? A new age. Not of Silthari rule, not of human expansion, not of Void-born hunger, but of shared sky." Varys was silent for a long time. Then slowly he bowed his head. "I will not stop you." It was not an apology, not forgiveness, but it was enough. Below, the first joint team formed, Silthari engineers, human scientists, and Void-born technicians, working together to stabilize the relay and expand the signal. The Ark ships shared their knowledge freely, not as masters but as partners. But then, a new alert flashed on the spire's console. Deep in the outer rim, a hidden Silthari dreadnought, loyal only to the old guard, had launched. Its captain, furious at Varys's betrayal, aimed its main cannon at the nearest Ark ship. And it was charging to fire. "They mean to break the peace before it takes root," Lyran said, reading the data. "How long until they strike?" Kieran asked. 10 minutes, Alara said. "We cannot fight them," Kieran said, "not without undoing everything." "Then we do not fight," Alara said. "We show them there is no need." She turned to Ember's scale in Kieran's hand. Ember gave his life to send the signal. Now we must send it again, but not through machines, through us. Kieran understood. They ran to the relay core, now humming with the combined voices of Ark ships, Void-born, humans, and Silthari. Alara placed her hands on the console. Kieran placed his beside hers, and he pressed the golden scale into the center. "Focus on the truth," he whispered. "Not fear, not pride, just what is real." They closed their eyes and they sent the signal, not as data but as feeling. Love for a home lost, grief for a war too long, hope for a child yet unborn. The dreadnought, light seconds away, shuddered. Its crew, hardened warriors, suddenly saw visions. Not of enemies but of their own families, of gardens on their home moon, of songs their mothers used to sing. The captain stared at his weapon's trigger and chose not to press it. The dreadnought powered down. On Aura 7, the relay core glowed brighter than ever. Alara opened her eyes. Tears streaked her face. Kieran smiled. They heard us. Because you made them remember, she said. Above, the Ark ships began their next task. One descended toward the southern continent where acid rains had poisoned the soil for decades. As it passed overhead, the rains turned clean. Grass sprouted in hours. Trees stretched toward the sky. Another Ark ship moved to the orbital docks, repairing broken freighters, refitting them not for war, but for trade. The void-born ships, now painted with soft symbols of renewal, began clearing debris fields, turning wreckage into building material for new homes. And in the middle of it all, Alara and Kieran stood side by side, watching the galaxy breathe for the first time in a century. Ember's light lived in every beam, every seed, every choice. The war was not over in a single day. Old wounds would take time to heal. Mistrust would linger in corners. But the turning point had come, and it had come not through victory, but through vulnerability, not through might, but through mercy. As the twin moons rose over Aura 7, casting silver light on the healing land, Alara placed a hand on Kieran's shoulder. "What now?" she asked. "Now," he said, "we help the world remember how to hope." And together, they walked down the spire into the dawn of something new. Weeks passed on Aura 7 and the moon began to change. The scars of war did not vanish overnight, but they softened. Where dust storms once raged, green shoots pushed through the gray. Where metal ruins stood like broken teeth, vines curled around them, turning wreckage into trellises. The air smelled not of ozone and ash, but of rain and something sweet, like blossoms from a world long forgotten. In the heart of the Enclave, once a place of stiff protocol and cold silence, a new space had grown. Not by design, but by need. Humans, Silthari, and Voidborn gathered there each evening. They did not always speak the same words, but they shared food, music, and quiet. Children, some human, some Silthari, even a few young Voidborn born after the armistice, played, together in the shadow of the Ark ships, their laughter ringing like bells. Alara watched from a stone bench near the old relay entrance. Her cloak was still worn, but cleaner now. At her feet lay a small nest of woven wire and soft moss, empty, yet always waiting. She visited it every morning, whispering stories to the wind, hoping Ember might hear. Kieran found her there, as he often did. "They are planting trees today," he said, sitting beside her. "Silthari saplings mixed with human apple seeds and void-born crystal roots. They say the fruit will glow at night." Ember would have liked that, she said softly. "He does," Kieran replied. "I feel him in the wind, in the hum of the ships, in the quiet between heartbeats." She looked at him. His face was thinner now, his eyes deeper. The weight of the signal still lived in him, but it no longer bent him. It lifted him. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Carrying this light inside you?" "Never," he said. "Because it was never mine to keep, only to share." Above them, the first Ark ship, the one that had shielded Aura 7, began its slow descent. Not to land, but to hover just above the salt flats. Its underside opened like a flower, and from it poured not weapons, not soldiers, but seeds. Thousands of them. Carried on golden mist, they drifted across the moon, finding cracks in the earth, nesting in ruins, clinging to hope. The Silthari Council watched from their high chamber. Barris stood at the front, his posture less rigid than before. Beside him, Lyran held a tablet showing data from newly awakened Ark ships across the galaxy, each one helping a world in need. Some cleaned polluted oceans, others cooled overheated stars. A few even mended fractured tectonic plates with gentle pulses of energy. "They do not conquer," Lyran said. "They care." Varys nodded. "Perhaps that is the truest form of strength." He turned to the council. "We were wrong to fear what we did not understand, but we are not too late to learn." The council murmured, not in doubt, but in agreement. On the surface, Kieran stood as the golden mist settled around him. He raised his hands, not in command, but in welcome. The mist swirled around his fingers, then drifted toward the void-born settlement on the western ridge. There, former warriors now built homes from recycled hull plating, their movements slow, careful, full of purpose. One of them, the first warrior who had removed its mask, approached Kieran and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You gave us back our name," it said, voice rough but clear. "You never lost it," Kieran replied. "You just forgot how to hear it." Ilara joined them. The void-born warrior turned to her and bowed. "The dragon's light lives in you," it said. "We see it." She touched the golden scale, now worn on a cord around her neck. "He gave everything so we could choose better. Then we will honor him," the warrior said, "by never choosing war again." As the sun set over Orcs 7, a ceremony began, not of victory, but of remembrance. At the center of the gathering stood 3 stones, one carved with Silthari runes, one etched with human letters, and one embedded with void-born crystal. In the middle, a small pedestal held Ember's nest, now filled with glowing petals from the first bloom of the new trees. Kieran stepped forward. He did not speak loudly. He did not need to. "We came here broken," he said. "Each of us carrying wounds from wars we did not start but were forced to fight. We saw enemies in every shadow. But peace does not ask us to forget the pain. It asks us to believe it can be healed." Ilara stepped beside him. "And healing does not come from force. It comes from listening, from seeing each other not as threats, but as neighbors." A human child placed a flower on the pedestal. A Silthari elder added a song. A void-born youth laid down a shard of old armor, now bent into the shape of a bird. The arc ship above pulsed once, gently, like a heartbeat. Then from deep space, a new signal arrived. Not a distress call, not a warning, but a thank you. A world, on the far edge of the galaxy, once scorched by the void-born, had received its first rain in 50 years. Crops were growing, children were dancing in the mud, and they had sent their gratitude on a beam of pure light. Kieran smiled. They are not alone anymore. "None of us are," Ilara said. In the days that followed, more signals came. From every corner of known space, planets waking from drought, cities rising from rubble, fleets turning from war to rescue. The arc ships did not rule. They simply gave what was needed, and left the choice to those who received it. On Orcs 7, the Enclave became a center of learning. Humans taught Silthari how to grow food in harsh soil. Silthari showed humans how to weave light into cloth. Void-born shared their ancient songs of star navigation. And every night someone would tell the story of the human diplomat, the elf, woman, and her dragon who gave his life so peace could breathe. Ilara never called herself a hero, nor did Kieran. They were just 2 people who chose to believe in something greater than fear. One evening, as they walked the salt flats beneath twin moons, Ilara stopped. "Do you think it will last?" she asked. "Peace," Kieran said. "Not as a moment, but as a practice. As long as someone is willing to choose it, even when it is hard, it will last." She looked up. High above, the stars seemed brighter, closer, alive. And then, just for a second, she saw it, a flicker of gold in the sky, swift and warm like a dragon in flight. She smiled. "He is proud of us," she whispered. Kieran took her hand. "Then we keep going." And they did. Not as warriors, not as leaders, but as friends walking into a future they helped build, one quiet act of courage at a time. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a shared breath. And in that breath, the galaxy found its voice again.